Hello and welcome to the Supernatural Track here at Continual. I'm your host, Kelsey Martin, and tonight we are talking about the bad girls of Supernatural. And you can read that any way you want, define bad any way you want, and I'm sure we will. But before we dive into that, let's let our wonderful panelists introduce themselves, starting with Carole.
Hi, I'm Carole Stokes. I started watching Supernatural in season 3. I started writing fanfic in 2012, and I now publish romance under the name Ellis Colton.
Okay. And Elektra.
I'm Elektra Hammond. I'm a writer and an editor, and I started watching Supernatural when that very first episode aired, and I watched it all the way through until that last episode just made me cry.
And I'm Gail Z. Martin, and Morgan Bryce. As Gail, I write epic and urban fantasy. As Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance. But all my worlds are ones Sam and Dean could walk into and feel right at home. I fell in love with the show halfway through season 11, binge watched 11 seasons before the start of season 12, watched it all the way to the end. I fell down the rabbit hole and haven't come back up since. So, in no particular order, let's talk about, well, first off, let's start with defining bad. Are these enemies of Sam and Dean? Frenemies? Things can go a lot of different ways. So, when you think of the bad girls of Supernatural, who do you think of? What defines that? And then we'll get into the who. Carole?
Well, certainly there are the ones, by bad, I go with they did evil things and, were foes of the Winchesters. And there's some who just, that's who they were out of the gate until, the moment where hopefully they perished. And, but there are certainly gray areas because you have some that started off enemies but became allies, and then you have some that started as allies and became enemies. So it's nice because there's really, it really kind of gives you a broader field than just who are the bad ones. Not that there aren't plenty of those as well.
Mm-hmm. Elektra?
Yeah, there are definitely some who were bad and came to bad ends, but there were an awful lot who were in the flirty frenemy group. That's a very big group.
Well, can you blame them?
No, I think it was just the context of the show that, given that, with a few exceptions, most of the bad girls were played by attractive women. So they needed to have, a little bit of flirtation going on just because, well, it, you know, I'm going to shoot you or I'm going to threaten you, but I'm going to look like a real badass while I do it. And that just led to a little bit of, you know, one or the other or both of the boys trying to see if they couldn't flirt their way out of trouble.
Yeah, Supernatural was really not the kind of show where they picked a lot of average-looking people. It's not like The Office or something like that. They went with people who, good, bad, evil, or indifferent, were exceptionally pretty people.
Well, once you start with the Winchesters themselves,
Yeah,
the bar has been set quite high.
this is true.
So unless you're a straight character role, a la Bobby,
Mhm.
you need to hit that mark.
Well, yeah, and you get some like you said, straight character roles, or where like Ellen, where they're a maternal figure, they're a helper, but they're supposed to be um, not a glamorous femme fatale. Uh, but they're, if you're going to be evil, you might as well look good doing it. So So with that, let's go around and pick one each circle. And Carol, start us off with one of your favorite bad girls.
Ah, Abaddon. Let's start with Abaddon. She was really, 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 really bad. She was extremely powerful, which really kind of didn't hurt her attractively. You know what I mean? Like uh, she was powerful. She knew it. She wielded it well. You got to give points, I think, for sass and competence and all of that. But extremely attractive. I mean, who can argue about a hot redhead?
Okay.
And Elena Huffman is just a really beautiful woman, no matter what color her hair is. But I really, the red was just really a great choice. It was like sassy and feisty and all of that. And then they put her in all of these great outfits, like tight leather jackets and stuff like that. So very hot. And I think Dean was even like, wow, she's really hot. But then she was just so evil and kind of quenched any desire he had, I think, to do anything about it. She was just darkness, evil unabated by anything. Abaddon was out for Abaddon. She was out for power. She was out to win. She liked causing as much collateral damage as possible along the way. Humans were toys to her. When she first inhabits Josie, um, when we see kind of how she came to be where she was at, she had inhabited, we had the flashback with Henry, and she's inhabited Josie, the woman of letters, alongside Henry. And she figures out that Josie is crushing hard on Henry, but not going to do anything about it because she's an honorable person and Henry is married with a kid and everything. And Abaddon gets a hold of that, though, and she's just like, oh, this is really funny to her. And she utilizes it to blackmail Josie into becoming her vessel, because Josie's like, no, take me, not him, because he has a wife and a child, he has a family. So she uses Josie's love for Henry against herself, and that's just, right up Josie's, not Josie, right up Abaddon's alley for how can we inflict pain along the way of my dastardly, plan. Like, I already have a dastardly plan, but hey, let's have a little fun along the way. And that was the kind of thing she would do. So she was just um, so so evil, but really fun to watch
Hmm.
because of the way she was in it, man. She just was in it all the way and looking great while she did it.
What you got to do?
um, isn't there that great scene when she's captured Dean and she has her heel, her pointy stiletto heel, like on his chest or something?
Hmm.
Yeah. So she knows what she's got and she uses it for all she's worth and really inflicts, of course, horrible pain and destruction and death all around her. Um, and it's because of her that Dean finally, succumbs to getting the mark of Cain, because it's the only way they'll be able to defeat her.
She's evil, but she looks damn good doing it.
You
Elektra?
bet. She was a hot ticket,
Oh,
as they say.
well, Abaddon was our introduction to the Knights of Hell with a footnote to, well, they're all dead, right? And then we find out later that they were actually all alive. And the only way Crowley was able to beat Abaddon was he teamed up with the Winchesters pretty much.
Hmm.
All you need is the guys on your side. And
Okay. So who's your
um
pick? Your first pick?
okay, if we're going with pure evil, I'm gonna go with Dr. Hess. Um, she was pretty much running the British men of letters, and she never really gave the hunters here a chance. She was pretty much, they're crass Americans, and you know they we don't need them. We've got, we have our own. We're better than them. They're not educated. They don't know what they're doing. They haven't taken care of eradicating all the monsters here in the US the way we have in England. Let's just kill them all and God will know his own. And she is just, I mean, she runs that darn school where they take two friends enter, one comes out. It's awful. She is a terrible human being, and she deserved what she got. Um, I don't remember who it was that puts one in her head and walks away and just doesn't think about her ever again. But boy, she deserved it.
Mhm. Well, I'm going to go with another one who um, was sometimes evil, sometimes not completely evil, but definitely a bad girl, and that's Billy. Billy the Reaper, who became Death. Gotta love that leather coat and the
Oh,
boots. I mean, bad girls dress really well. Um, sometimes she was an antagonist to the boys. She started out hostile to them. And then as the show went on, I think she began to see why Old Death wasn't as fixed on thinking of them badly as she thought he should have been. Once she, I think, saw more of the complexities of what they actually dealt with and where they honestly saved her some trouble by taking care of things. So she comes to appreciate them more, becomes sort of a frenemy, a sometimes ally, a sometimes enemy. But I like that complexity because she wasn't just one side or another. And, the actress looked damn good doing it. So I, my first vote goes with Billy. So back to you, Carol.
In this whole enemy, frenemy, friend, ally gray area, we have Rowena.
Hmm.
Now, Rowena definitely started off in the enemy category. She was out for herself. She wasn't as she didn't kind of radiate that same demonic evil that say Abaddon did, but she was out for herself. She had been done wrong to, and she was ready to do wrong in retribution. Um, but again, sassy, feisty. We got the red hair again, uh, and a distinct sense of style where her thing was not tight leather jackets or leggings or anything, but she always wore these beautiful long gowns, velvet or with sparkles or lace. I mean, really, the woman wore these beautiful, beautiful dresses and had this cascading red hair and a lilting accent that you could listen to the phone book in.
Hmm.
you know so she was always very dynamic and attractive to watch. um she was a crazy powerful witch, uh but where what we got to see, because she stayed long enough, she stayed several seasons, where we then got to see her get to know the boys got to know her. There was a few things where they're like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, or uneasy allies. And as they went through some of these things, trust began to grow, and it was really nice to see in this very complex set of dynamics between Sam and Dean and Rowena, and then how they relate to the rest of the world, facing it as a trio. Um, Really interesting to watch, really fun. They would all sass each other, really great. Lots of little funny moments, like when Dean is in regarding Dean and he's losing his memory, and he's like, "Oh, your hair is so bouncy," and she turns to Sam and she's like, "Can't we just leave him like this?" And she's kidding, but it was funny. Um, And we have the great revelation at one point where we find out she's Crowley's mother, and that kinda explains so much for both of them.
Mhm. Mhm.
And again, adds this yet another degree of complexity and interest and depth, because they have their own fractious relationship and yet often have to play nice with each other, and just really great. There's never a dull moment with Rowena on the screen. And I'd say probably that her two most touching moments in the friend and ally category are when she is doing a like a stakeout with Sam, and they bond over the fact that they had both been abused by Lucifer and what it had done to them in terms of their self-image, their self-confidence, their vulnerability and all of that. And they each have that moment of kinship of somebody really understands how I feel about this. And from that, we started really getting a lovely relationship growing between her and
Mhm.
Sam. And she respected his intellect, and the way he approached things. And I think he found in her, that sass and vivacity. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but the energy she projected was strengthening for him,
Mhm.
and so they grew very respectful of each other. They grew very fond of each other, and thus it is with great sorrow that, in fact, she has told Sam, "You're going to be the one to kill me." And he's like, "I could never, not at this point, you know." And but he is. And he has to do it, and he knows he has to do it, and she knows he has to do it. And frankly, she guides his hand to do it, you know. Um, and that's just,
Yeah.
a real heartbreaking moment, which when
Mhm.
we first saw Rowena, we would never have dreamed we would ever see. And yet, when she sacrificed herself, because not only is Sam killing her, but she's sacrificing herself
Mhm.
for the world. Another thing we thought we would never have seen from Rowena. It's really a, a moment filled with grief and pain.
Mhm.
It really is. We do get the happy moment later on where we find out, oh, she's the queen of hell now. And hey, friends in high places, or friends in low
Oh.
places. So, yeah, complex character, complex relationships. And it's in those areas that Supernatural, particularly, I feel, works its magic.
Mhm. Yeah, very good character growth. Elektra?
Okay, I was going to go somewhere else, but because of something Carol just said, I feel obliged to talk about Naomi.
Okay.
No, I mean, Naomi is an angel, and we expected our angels to be, well, at least somewhere in there to be some good. And we meet Naomi, and it turns out she's manipulating Cass. And that first interaction we have with her, where she sends all of them in to rescue, oh God, the angel who is dressed up as the fast food worker,
Mhm.
Samandria.
Samandriel, and they get him out, and she decides he's too much of a risk and makes Cass kill him. And it is just heartbreaking, the dichotomy she has going on, because she's an angel and she's in heaven and she's dressed in white and running heaven and she's just impeccable, and she's committing murder with the snap of a finger, and she's corrupted Cass, and he's checking in with her constantly and not remembering it, and it's that is nothing but pure evil.
Mhm.
She's taken away his free will. And
And taken advantage of his trust and his naivete and his goodness.
yeah, and it hurts to see him do that. And she's not so much a friend in high places as a person you can't trust in high places. And the dichotomy there with Naomi, who cannot be trusted running heaven, and Rowena, who you can running hell, was just weirdness.
Mm-hmm.
Although Naomi did turn out to sacrifice herself for the greater good in the end. But it took a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, no, I'm gonna go with Meg. We had Meg 1.0 and Meg 2.0, blonde Meg and dark-haired Meg. Yet another one that you started out hating, didn't think could possibly have a redemption arc, and then ended up having a redemption arc because, the boys just have that effect even on angels and demons. Um, but when we first meet Meg, she is definitely an antagonist. She's working with Azazel, um, and she is just plain evil, clearly working against the boys. And then we see dark-haired Meg kind of have an evolution. She ends up switching sides. She protects Cass and sneaks into the hospital and poses as a nurse to take care of him. And she was she held her own with uh, Sam and Dean and Cass in terms of strength of character. And so there was a lot of depth by the time we got through Rachel Miner's portrayal of Meg. And yet another character that starts out evil, somebody you don't think you'll ever be able to forgive for what they've done or ever see them differently, and then they get redeemed. And so, yeah, I liked both actresses who played Meg, but I liked Rachel Miner's Meg the best.
I giggled every time she called him Clarence.
Clarence. Yes, yes.
There was a lot of well-placed humor in there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And in jokes and yeah, and stuff that went right over Cass's head. But that was the fun of it. Carol, back to you.
So in the non-human part of this list, we have Lilith, um, who we actually meet for the first time as this sweet little girl. At the end of Justin Bello, through various means, the Winchesters in Victor have saved the police station, and then they leave, and Lilith comes in and just blows the place up. And she walks in and she's holding this woman's hand, and she just looks sweet as pie. And she's like, these two tall, these two guys, one of them's really cute, and the other one's really tall. And everyone's like, oh, they're so cute. And, you know, when we see her again, she's in an adult form, voluptuous, curvy, sexy, blonde, sultry, clearly does want to get it on with Sam, but for her own reasons, not just because, he's a hunk of burning love. But but we also do see her again as a little girl. And again, I mean, in this one, she's this blonde little angelic looking girl in this white poofy dress, and here she comes in, but oh my gosh, the cat scratched her, and so she's got blood all down the front of this dress because of course the cat had to pay for that, and steps over the body of her dead grandmother, anyway, people around her are dying, and the rest of them are terrified because she has possessed this blonde angelic little girl and is horrible. But yeah, and then when we see her in the adult form, and she's trying to work her wiles with Sam to accomplish her goals, I think one of the things that strikes me with her is her evilness is alongside her she's very capricious. she's very mischievous. She's very, I almost want to say lighthearted, which I don't mean in a, let's have the bluebird sing around her kind of way, but in, in her whim could change in a second, and you don't know what's going to happen next, and which is incredibly dangerous,
Mhm.
and just fills her encounters with the boys with that sense of impending danger and doom because they cannot predict what is going to happen with her. Um, so she is just like an out and out villain. They just have to really go all out to try and defeat her. And in the end, Sam kills her. But oops, that's what they wanted. Here he thinks he's done the right thing and everything, but no, that opened the gate, and now all kinds of bad things are going to happen. So oops.
Anybody who's raised uh, female children and has gone through that age with them, the idea of them being omnipotent is absolutely terrifying because it's one thing to have mood swings and anger issues, but when you are all powerful, that just changes everything. So I think that she was scary on a whole different level to anybody who had raised little girls, because it's like, oh, that would be just too much. Electra,
Um, how about Mother Mary?
okay.
Mom,
Got her on
um,
my list too.
what Dean remembered of Mom was just, this wonderful homemaker that Dad seemed to remember is absolutely perfect because, well, she was his loving wife. But it turned out that Mom was pretty much of a badass, and she proved that just right up front when she ran into the British men of letters and killed somebody right out of the gate. Uh, and it turned out that, oh yeah, when he was young, she was sneaking off and you know keeping her hand in by going on a few hunts here and there that Dad didn't know about, and just little things here and there. She rescued Asa Fox, all sorts of cute things. And then when she ended up in Apocalypse World, she was really useful. So, Mom had all these hidden depths that we hadn't known about the first, 10 seasons of the show, where all we thought was that she was this beautiful blonde mom. And it turned out that she was one badass.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna sidebar that too with the fact that not only was she a badass, but she had some morally gray area in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was the sneaking off for hunts that we found out about, but we also found out. I mean, I know she got brainwashed by the British men of letters, but you know what? She had to get close enough and in their facility and in their plans enough to get brainwashed. Like they didn't just pick her up off the street and brainwash her. You know what I mean? She was already becoming involved with them. And that was a real, as we found out, morally questionable thing.
She bought
Uh,
into their hey, we can help you do all this stuff,
right,
and didn't question it until they were drugging her up and brainwashing her.
right. And then, I will speak for Melissa, who's not here with us tonight. There was the Mary Winchester A plus parenting.
Yes. Well, I'm going with Ruby. Um, you know, we another um, character that was played by two different actresses. And at first, she seems to be helping them. She helps them get the demon knife. She helps Bobby get the cult up and running. Um, and there's definitely, she's got the hots for Sam. Um, but then we get to see that she really is a demon. She really didn't have their best interests at heart. She wasn't helping them to be good. She was helping them to get closer and get her hooks into them. And she gets Sam hooked on demon blood. And that sets up a whole host of hurt and causes a lot of trouble, not only between the brothers, but for Sam and the whole addiction arc and all the other things that go with it. And so, just if you really think about somebody intentionally getting someone else hooked on a substance, that's horrible in and of itself, demonic or not. But then you have the extra layers here with it being demon blood and really, Sam kind of on the edge of betraying not only Dean, but everything he's always stood for, and Ruby just led him down the garden path. So she was not a frenemy. It turned out to be a true enemy, but it took them long enough to figure it out. And so, of course, she finally gets what's coming to her in the end, but a whole lot of damage has been done to Sam, to the brothers' relationship, to everything that they were doing. And it takes a long time to rebuild that and to heal. So, yeah, she caused a lot of problems. Well,
That
folks,
was a really clever storyline, though,
mhm,
getting her to make them think she was building him up to kill Lilith, and really she was building him up to kill Lilith because it was the only way to release Lucifer. It was
mhm,
very clever writing.
it was.
I mean,
Mhm.
kudos to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when,
I did not see that one coming.
mm-mm.
Not
No,
the
so we felt
first
as
time.
betrayed as Sam. And that's, like you said, great writing and great acting and great characterization. So, yeah, it was very clever.
So, kudos to the writers,
Hmm.
first off, because that was a great storyline.
Hmm. Well, um, we're almost out of time. So, lightning round here. Don't have time to go into it in detail, but if there's somebody you're just itching to mention, give us about a minute here, and then we'll do our wrap up. Carol, anybody else you just don't want to end without mentioning?
Bella, Bella, human. Uh, we get enough little backstory to find out she's kind of got these issues of her own, but in the meantime, we just see her romping through Sam and Dean and screwing things up for them and stealing the colt, working with definite frenemy moments where she works with them, like when she and Dean go over undercover at the fancy party to get, the hand. Um, but and she's like, we should have the angry sex. But yes, definitely completely out for herself. And even when we find out in the end she's trying to save herself from hellhounds, it's like too late, too late, too much water under the bridge, babe. You brought this on yourself. Sayonara.
Okay. Electra?
Amara, the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Just from the moment she appears, because she feels indebted to Dean for releasing her, there's that weird flirty tie between them that is so much fun to watch as she's exploring the earth, but really she wants to hang with Dean. And at the very much, just the back and forth flirting between them is absolutely adorable the whole time that things are going, and they realize that she's kind of a problem and they really need to contain her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great watching them. She is the best frenemy ever. She's super powerful. You can't get her taken care of without the most powerful friends ever. But she's also a gorgeous woman and she likes him.
Yeah.
And also she's like, the sister of that weird, squirrely, creepy guy that you know. Oh,
Well, I'm going to round us out with Kali. It's hard to think of her as evil. She's more of a force of nature, kind of like um, an elemental that is just powerful aside from and above any constraint of human morality.
she's
So,
your buddy's ex.
pardon?
She's your buddy's ex.
Yeah.
She used to date Gabriel.
Yes. Um, but she was just fascinating. It's always interesting to see a female character portrayed with that kind of being all powerful. It doesn't happen very often. The guys get most of those roles, and she did it great, but she was almost such a such a elemental being that a lot of the right, wrong, human concerns, this one little planet out of, the whole galaxy, um, seemed small to her by comparison. Now, it's our planet. It's the only one we've got. We kind of are fond of it. But, from her perspective, it was, small potatoes, which was interesting. So, um, I know there are more we aren't going to get a chance to cover tonight. I think we hit some high notes. But before we wrap up, please let us know where we can find you online. Carol?
As Carole Stokes, you can find me on Facebook, especially in the TFWNC group and the Continual group. As Ellis Colton, all of my social media links, including my newsletter sign up, are at elliscolton.com. All of my books are on Amazon, including right now The Silver Dragon, and now The Malevolent Sea and its predecessor, The Case of Thistledown House, are all in Kindle Unlimited. So check them out.
Very good. Elektra?
Elektra Hammond, you can find me at untilmidnight.com and look for me on Mastodon, especially on Monday night, where we answer random questions for an hour between 7 and 8 under the hashtag RightFant. Come join us. Everybody is welcome.
Okay. And I'm pretty easy to find online as Gail Z. Martin and Morgan Bryce. If you spell those right, you'll find me on all the major social medias. Have a brand new book out, Sinistrom, in the Sons of Darkness series. And that's an ex-priest and a former FBI agent hunting demons in Pittsburgh. So that, Sam and Dean could walk into their world and feel right at home. But mostly you can find me here on Continual. So thank you very much. Wonderful panelists. It was a great conversation. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There will be more Supernatural coming up on Continual, so we'll see you online.